Hi, everybody, and welcome to Backstage. Again, as we always say, to the veterans, thanks for coming back. For the newbies, you jumped on at the right time. Things are really moving, and this is going to be a quick bandwagon this time, too. As always, we have iconic guests, and this next one is as special as all the special ones we have. I think we've all met people in life that, the first time you meet them, you go, ooh, this person's really good. And the first time I had a chance to have breakfast with Tonya, I think it was in the Hilton in Columbia, South Carolina, when I was doing one of the camps there. And it was like, whoa, this person is really, really sharp. And that's obviously come true because she is now at Penn State, and she is the director of wind band studies there, which puts her at the top of the heap. So would you please help me welcome Dr. Tonya Mitchell Spradlin. Tonya, tell us what's going on in Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, thanks, Dr. Tim. I'm so happy to be here and happy to spend some time chatting with you today. So what's going on in Pennsylvania? I did a pandemic move. You mentioned that we'd spent some time together at breakfast before drum major clinics at the University of South Carolina. So I moved from there to State College, Pennsylvania this summer with my husband and our dog, and we tried to stay in the car as much as possible and had way more hand sanitizer than you can imagine. And then we spent the summer just getting to know faculty and getting to know students and how things operate here. And I'm happy to say that we're moving forward together safely at Penn State. We're fortunate that we're able to play together in person. All of the ensembles are playing together last semester and this semester. It looks different. There's a mix of in-person rehearsals and virtual rehearsals, and there's a cohort of students who are totally 100% remote. And so everything that they do is from home. And so it's a little bit of everything going on here.
Tonya, they have a choice about that, where if they can want to do, right, they can do either?
Right. So the faculty at Penn State have the choice on whether or not they wanted to have an in-person class, a hybrid class, or a remote class. And the band department offered a remote course for students who didn't feel comfortable coming back. And we just put together a different curriculum for them. And so for about 16 students, they chose not to return, and they're still getting their ensemble credit doing a series of different things.
Pretty interesting. Probably had to come up with some creative ideas, yeah?
Yes. Yes. And my colleagues were great. It was a big series of asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then, of course, asking the students, what do you want to learn? And then thinking, okay, well, what can we do that's meaningful and beneficial in the situation that we're in?
I love it. So tell us a little bit about you. I knew where you grew up and everything, but give us the quick version of from where did you go to high school and all that stuff?
All right. I'm from just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, Lawrenceville, Georgia. I went to Berkmar High School in Gwinnett County in Georgia. And then after Berkmar, I moved to Indiana, and I went to Indiana University in Bloomington. And that's where I did my bachelor's degree in music education and also wind conducting. IU has a minor in wind conducting for undergrads. Then I moved to the Navajo Reservation in Kayenta, Arizona. And that's where I did my student teaching, and I tried to get a job out there, and I wasn't able to find a high school band teaching job on the reservation. And so I ended up moving back to Georgia. My first high school teaching job, or really my only high school teaching job, was about 30 minutes away from where I grew up. And so it was kind of an interesting situation where I got that job very, very late in the summer, and I would travel around with a suit in my car because I was the last of my friends to have a job. And I remember driving home from Bloomington to my mom's house just to visit, and the car was running. And as it was time, I was saying goodbye, and I was getting ready to get back in my car to go back to Bloomington. My phone rang. It was Chamblee High School. They called and asked if I could come to an interview the very next day, and I did. And because it was so late in the summer, I didn't go back to Bloomington to move out. for another 2 weeks. So did band camp, did a first week of school, and then went back and cleared out my place. So I loved it there. I loved it. I still talk to some of those students and parents. And while I was in Georgia, I did my master's at the University of Georgia in music ed. And I'd stayed in contact with my first ever conducting teacher at IU, Paul Popeil, who a few years into teaching high school called and said that he had an opening in his conducting studio and asked if I would be willing to come audition for that spot. And so I did, and I left and I went to the University of Kansas, where I did my DMA in wind conducting. And then left there and went to Valdosta State and taught for 1 year as assistant director of bands, and then went to the University of South Carolina as assistant director there, and then found my way kind of back up north to Penn State.
Is this going to be home for a while, do you think?
I think so. Yes. Yes.
Was Mr. Kramer at IU then, when you were at IU? Who was the
He was not. Mr. Pratt.
Oh, Steve. Phenomenal. Nicest human being in the world, right?
Yes.
Who's the influential person? I mean, where you went, I'm going to be a band director.
I don't
Probably
know
a
if I
lot.
had just one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I think there's a lot of people. I started taking piano lessons when I was 9. I had a little 66 key keyboard, and all the keys would light up, and I would play all the songs there. And then I started taking piano lessons, and my piano teacher, Valencia Giles, I think was extremely influential for me because she was just a shining example of excellent musicianship and kindness. And she was also a Black woman. And so as a Black woman myself, it was nice to see that representation in the musical community. And then I started band when I was in 6th grade. I played the clarinet, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a band director. I just remember sitting in the clarinet section, and every time that we stopped to fix something, I thought, I don't want to stop. I just want to play and play and play and play and play. And I'm going to be a band director, and we're going to play.
That's great.
So that's where it began.
So IU, because it's a great music school, is that you had to have some connection there somewhere? Yeah.
My only connection with IU is that my clarinet teacher, I started taking clarinet lessons when I was in 9th grade. So I took piano and clarinet in tandem. My clarinet teacher said, you should audition at these schools because they're all good. And then I did. That's it. And the only time I ever went to Indiana was to audition for the school. And I remember it was a huge blizzard and we could barely see anything. It was freezing cold. And I didn't love the weather, but I liked the school. I liked the atmosphere. I loved my teacher, James Campbell. But yeah, I didn't know a lot about it before I did the audition.
Yeah, Bloomington, Indiana, unique, isn't it? It's
beautiful.
I know. It's a great place. You've moved so fast in your career. I mean, you've catapulted right to the top quickly in comparison to where most journeys go. In all of that, I'm going to ask you kind of a unique question. As a band director, because you had high school and a couple college situations before then, how important was communication in all that you did?
Well, excessively important. Yeah. And maybe the most important, actually. So I don't feel like you said catapulted to the top. I don't feel like I'm at the top. I just feel like I'm continuing down my path of teaching and connecting with people and with students. But I think when it comes to communication, the aspect of that's really important is you can't share something with someone else unless you can clearly articulate it for yourself. And so for me, what that looked like was, okay, this is my one-day goal. This is my today goal with my students. This is my week goal. This is my monthly goal. This is where I'd love to see us in 1 year. And a lot of those goals were fairly open-ended. They weren't goals like, we're going to make superiors here. And not that there's anything wrong with that goal, but the goals were very much like, the culture should be one in which our rehearsals, there's give and take. The culture should be one in which students feel comfortable asking questions and taking risks, but also know how to stay focused. So some things like that, and similar things for myself. And then I would often, and I still do, share them frequently and openly. This is the goal. This is what we're trying to achieve. This is our purpose. This is our philosophy, so that we can all work on it together. At the same time, working towards this mutual goal. And so in terms of communication, I think being able to articulate what the goals are and then bring other people into it as well.
Yes.
That's a really important aspect of it too. It's not just living in our own brains.
This, well, obviously the whole, I mean, that's the mortar between the bricks, right? Did you start out thinking you would be a college band director?
No. So I wanted to be a band director.
Right.
And I think in the back of my mind, it was always high school. I mentioned that I was the last of my friends to get a job. I got a job 3 days before band camp started. And that's because I turned down a job to teach elementary school. And so I think that affirmed that I think high school is always in the back of my mind. And so it actually wasn't until I went to get my doctorate that I then thought, okay, well, I'm going to teach college, because that's kind of the natural thing you do after you get a DMA in conducting. You seek to continue to conduct the same type of music or similar level of music. Yes. So I didn't want to teach college until I was already out of school and had taught high school for a while. It was not my initial goal. Right. No.
I want to go back because, Tonya, this is the jump from Bloomington to the reservation. What? I mean, that's, talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I was just interested in learning things that were outside of me, beyond me. And IU has a really great student teaching setup where you can student teach overseas. So my roommate taught half her semester in Bloomington, and then she taught the other half in Ireland. So you can student teach overseas, and I think that's called the Overseas Project. And then there's what they called the Urban Project, where you can student teach in an inner city school. And so I wasn't as interested in doing that because I had previously spent all of my summers working at a camp that was writing musicals that would then be performed at the end of a camp in like inner city Atlanta. And so I thought, well, I don't know anything about the Navajo reservation. You take a couple of extra classes, so you have to commit to following that path early in your undergraduate study. You take a few extra classes so you can learn the language and the culture and prepare yourself to be immersed in something different. And then you're paired with a partner, so you don't go alone. You go out there and you spend your semester teaching. And it was phenomenal. It was amazing, and it was beautiful. The students I taught middle school there. We started a band. The band had been thriving for a while, but then kind of dwindled. So there weren't enough instruments for everyone. There weren't enough chairs. There weren't enough stands. I mean, I remember some students sitting on like buckets flipped over, but so much energy. And we were just happy to be making strides musically together. I also taught piano and choir, which I did not enjoy. And guitar. So I'm happy to have not had to teach choir again.
You said you wanted to stay there in that environment and teach at a high school there, right?
I did. Yes.
Because of the people? Because of the people?
Because the people, the value system when I got there changed for me.
How? Talk to me.
Prior to going there, my life was just so fast paced. And I think that's the case for many of us. We go. as a music ed major, you are probably in back-to-back classes, wake up for your 8 a.m. class, your 9 o'clock class, your 10 o'clock class. And our paths are fairly set for us in this degree path. So you finish your degree in music ed, and then you go and you teach. It's usually the path. And you continue to teach, and then maybe you stay at the same school, or maybe go to a different school. And we just go. I mean, even as Americans, outside of being directors, outside of being musicians, we go. And there's commercials on TV all the time, and we're constantly looking at ads, and we're being berated with media and technology and things that disconnect us from other humans and from nature. And when I went there, the value system was totally different. It was all about family and all about community. And it always came first. I remember there was a flood and at one of the schools, and instead of, no one complained about it. It was a difficult situation, but we had a ceremony. And in order to have the entire ceremony, it started in the late afternoon on one day, and then went late at night, and then went to the very next day. And sometimes to have a ceremony, it's in the middle of the weekday. But there's no, oh, but you have to go to school, and oh, but what about work? That's moved because the community coming together is more important. And so kind of changing my value system to be more about human connection and community and people was difficult for me at first, because I'm so used to just running and running and going. But to slow down and just breathe and do that with other people who have a similar value was striking.
You couldn't have bought that kind of education. That's phenomenal. Because you were saturated in it. I mean, you had to be part of it. Oh man, how smart of you to do that. Jump completely out, because you're right. I mean, we're running all the time, right? We're tripping forward, as a matter of fact. Mike, has it changed your teaching for everything now?
A little. It was really hard coming back afterwards. And so I felt like everything was just going so fast when I left, and it was extremely overwhelming. And then the scenery was different too. So I went from, months and months of not seeing a lot of green, lush grass, just seeing sky and land, and a lot of browns, beautiful hilltops, mountains. And so I had to get used to that difference coming back. But one thing that it did instill in my teaching is that the human connection and the person-to-person connection is paramount, and it is more important than anything else.
Amen. Amen. Another reason we get along. I'm gonna take a left turn for you here a little bit,
okay?
Because obviously Consumer is a manufacturer of instruments. We make and sell instruments, and part of the music industry. And during this whole pandemic thing that is going on, obviously, what do you see the importance of education and industry working together? Music education, music industry. How do you see that?
One way that I think we can, this gap is already working together and moving together is the goal is to build students. The goal is to provide resources. The goal is to make musical lives more profound and ultimately easier. And so what I love seeing about the music industry and Consumer is the building of opportunities for growth, for success, whether that's with specific instruments, whether that's with resources for education for directors, for stronger teaching. I think they run together in the way that we're building strength and building our ability to teach effectively.
Yeah, I think if anything, I mean, we're always looking for the positives come out of this COVID situation we've been in. I think that's one of them, really, that we've learned to lock arms because we had to at this situation, and it's 1 + 1 = 3 when we do it that way. Everybody thinks.
And with technology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I've never thought this much about using technology for a process before. And now we have a gazillion resources at our disposal if we're willing to sit down and fiddle with them.
Yeah. Yeah. We would have never done it before. We didn't need to. The kids are right there. Okay, we're going to play lightning round with words. All right. The importance of this, because I know your heart is in education and bringing more people together and opening the gates so more people can experience this incredible thing we have called music. And I know that when you said, when you got to the reservation and all of a sudden the band started getting good again, it was like, I don't think that was an accident. I think that was a reflection of you. So tell me, how important are trust relationships?
Extremely. And not just in education and not just in music, but with everything, do what we say we're going to do. And that means a lot. Taking the time to get to know, let's say, just students' names and where they're from and their background, build some trust so that they know, okay, well, you care about me because every time you see me in the hall, you call me by my name and you actually say my name correctly. Or if you don't know my name, you come to me and say, hey, I know I've asked you this 7 times already, and I'm going to keep asking until I get it right eventually, but I'm not just going to do that awkward thing where I ignore you because I don't remember who you are. So that all of the things like that build trust as well.
When you left different positions, did you feel bad you had to leave the students?
Oh, always. I mean, the students are the best part of what we do. And I have found that every place that I've been has had wonderful, wonderful students. I've been able to make great connections with them. I like that it's easy to stay in touch with some of them. Sometimes it has to be really intentional with, hello, how are you? How is your life going? And sometimes they'll come to me. But yes, to answer your question, it is difficult, but it's wonderful too, to meet new students and to learn what they're excited about and follow them along their path.
You will always get good students. You will always get good students. Because again, it's that whole mirror thing. Okay, here's the next word. Here we go. Attitude.
Oh, I like this one. The attitude of, let's say, a community, or let's say students in an ensemble. Oh my goodness, highly mirrors that of the attitude of the director. And so I like to think, our job is to lead and it's to guide and it's to transfer our vision to them and then leave room for a little bit of for communication there as well. But if how we handle high stress situations or difficulty is probably how the students will handle them.
Yeah.
And COVID has been such a great opportunity to practice effectively handling high stress and annoying situations, because so much of what we have to do to navigate being able to play safely is not that fun. It's not that fun to always put a bell cover on or a mask on when you play and sit so far away from your neighbor that you're struggling to hear them. But the silver lining to that is we are constantly practicing problem solving. We're constantly practicing overcoming difficulty. And if our attitude is positive about that one and finding the benefits of the challenge, then the students, their attitude will be the same. It's contagious.
It really is. Both good and bad.
Yeah, true.
Right? Do you think you're going to come out of this stronger on the other side, a better band director on the other side of the COVID?
Oh, definitely. I've already learned some things I wasn't doing before that I know how to do now. With only 30-minute rehearsals, the focus on efficiency is extremely high. And so that's been helpful for all of us. We were able to accomplish more in a shorter period of time. I have a friend who always says a task will expand to fit the time you give it.
Yeah.
So if you give yourself 3 hours to do something, it might take you 3 hours. Give yourself 1 hour to do something, it might take you 1 hour. And then of course, within reason. So no, I think I will be, I'll be more efficient. I think I'll be, it'll help with focus. I think that it was a nice way to start a new job And so
Mm.
I don't want to say COVID was nice,
No, I understand. Yeah.
but it's interesting to start a new job in a place with strong traditions where everything was kind of thrown out the window. And all of us were trying to navigate something totally different. And so as a new person, I felt like we were all kind of in this thing together and how to move forward. So next year will seem, which will be the first kind of hopefully normal, normal year, I think will be so much better as a result of just having this time to navigate and learn how to overcome hurdles.
Yeah. You've kind of already answered this, but I'm going to ask you one more time because you're one of the people you feel safe with you. You're safe. And I don't know any other word. And from the first time I met you, I went, oh, I'm safe. You don't have to put up barriers or firewalls. Tonya's here. It's okay. I'm safe. How important is role modeling?
Well, extremely important. We are it's a burden that we bear as educators that our students are constantly watching everything that we
Yes.
do, learning how to navigate different situations, particularly confrontation or conflict, and how to deal with that in a way that's productive and ultimately centered around being kind and focused on building people. But right, seeing is believing. And so as role models, I also think it's important that we bring other role models and expose our students to a variety of different types of people, backgrounds, ways of thinking, so that there's something in there that might be hitting or turning on a light for all students.
Good. Okay, here's the last word. I'll give you a slow pitch. You can knock it out of the park. Ready? In our world, well, I suppose in our world always, but particularly in the microcosm of our world of music, cooperation.
Well, we don't operate in a silo, first of all. And I know there are some days where maybe we wish we did. But oh my gosh, yeah, we have to use other people to do anything when we have to give of ourselves and also ask for that from other people, and we have to demonstrate how to do that. So cooperation, I think collaboration go hand in hand, and being able to extend the extent of how far one's brain can think on its own in order to achieve something different or achieve something great. Like I know that there are ways and places that I have deficiencies, and I know that there are places where I want to grow and I want to do better. And so I will then look for someone who fills those gaps for me. Hey, I'm really bad at this, but you're great at it. Why don't we cooperate and work together so that our end product can be that much more creative? And it might be something I never envisioned to start with. If we keep doing that, then the sky is the limit.
It really is. It really is. That's why I always say, if we could just get everybody to play a musical instrument or sing, well, the whole world would work then, because you have to work together. There's no other way. That's a dream. Okay, we have so many people that watch Backstage, Tonya, that study these and they play them for their students and so forth. So, what last bit of advice do you have for all those young teachers out there that are doing everything they possibly can to keep the ship floating in the right direction and so forth this time?
Yeah, I think my advice or parting words would be that there really is a lot that is in our control, whether we're teaching in person or in a hybrid situation or in a totally remote situation. The things that we can control are our purpose. We can control what is our personal definition of success and what does meaningful mean to us. And if that purpose and that why is a very strong one, then everything can kind of harken back to that. We can control the way that we build leadership skills and agency and independence in students and the activities that we give them. I know that in this situation, I have found that students have had some skills that I had no clue that made the ensemble stronger, that weren't necessarily playing their instruments, like recording, editing,
Ah,
arranging, transcribing, use of technology, and setting things up for us that I wouldn't have known unless I asked about it. And it's made us better, and it's made us stronger, and it's given them a platform and a sense of agency. I would also say, don't be afraid to try new things. This is the time for that. I talked earlier about slowing down on the reservation and then everything sped back up, but COVID has allowed us to slow down and really think about the process and if it aligns with our value system and our goals for ourselves and for our students. So try new things, and just be your best self. Don't try to be the next greatest XYZ person. Just be you every day and work for ways that you feel authentically, genuinely yourself and your best self each day.
you're inspiring, which is what the best teachers in the world do. They put people in the spirit of wanting to do better. I mean, you really are. You really are. I have a selfish question to ask you too. Okay. Can we get you to do this again?
Oh,
Can we do part
certainly.
two?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to.
Because there's so much that we need to explore that is you, that is the fabric of who you are. I mean, you're a delight. I love you. I love to be around people that are like that, because it is contagious, and it's contagious in a very beneficial way. So we'll count on taking advantage of you again in the near future. And thank you so much for giving us your time you just really offered a fantastic blueprint of how to be successful at, I think, just about anything you do. So we'll count on seeing you again already.
All right, well, thank you, and thanks again for having me.
Thank you. And thanks to all of you for watching Backstage. Man, this is a keeper, isn't it? We're going to look at this one several times. To each and every one of you, obviously, if there's anything you want or need, you pick up the phone, call us. We'll find a way to make it work for you. In the meantime, let the music begin. Thanks. Bye-bye.